We begin the day with the search for a new ally to help end the fighting in the Middle East. Now, if we look at a geopolitical map of the region, what we see are two important ceasefires that, as we've said, are ceasefires in name only. Between the U.S., Israel, and Iran, the rocket attacks have stopped for now, but so has all traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. The weapon of choice of the moment is a stalemate. And between Israel and Lebanon, you'd be forgiven if you thought that a ceasefire has never even been discussed. It has, and it is still officially in force. But Israeli airstrikes, they have not stopped. Israel continues to target what it says are Hezbollah strongholds in southern Lebanon. And Hezbollah continues to fire rockets into northern Israel. This conflict has been overshadowed by the war against Iran. Tonight, we shine the light back onto the push for peace. Well, my next guest believes that Israel has an unlikely ally in the region to join its fight against Hezbollah. That ally is post-Assad Syria. In a recent article in Foreign Policy, Ahmad Sharawi wrote, even limited alignment between Israel and Syria can begin to narrow the space that Hezbollah has exploited. Over time, sustained coordination and small demonstrations of good faith could lay the groundwork for something more durable. And I'm joined now by Ahmad Sharawi. He's a research analyst at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, focusing on Middle East affairs and the Levant. It's good to have you with us. You know, there's a lot of reporting on Israel's offensive against Hezbollah. Can you explain to our viewers why the new government in Syria sees Hezbollah as such a threat?
First of all, thank you for having me. During this 14-year civil war since 2011, Hezbollah supported the Assad regime against the Syrian people, and a lot of Syrians or the new government in Syria sees Hezbollah as, first of all, an enemy, and second of all, as a threat that continues to exploit Syria's instability to rearm and use Syrian territory to smuggle weapons from Iraq and Iran into Lebanon. So the Syrian government has foiled multiple attempts that involved weapon smuggling, but also attacks that aim to target Israel through Syrian territory. So what Damascus perceives is Hezbollah still seeks to exploit the instability and still seeks to exploit the unstable borders that Syria has in order to further entrench itself in Lebanon as well as in some parts of Syria.
Okay, so are you calling then, or do you expect Israel and Syria to come together to work against Hezbollah, or is this more a case of overlapping interests, you know, where the enemy of my enemy is my friend?
So, of course, I mean, there's a shared interest in preventing the rearmament of Hezbollah for both countries. As I stated, the Syrians don't want an entrenched Hezbollah on their borders, and Israel doesn't want an active threat to its northern regions. And I think there's an overlap in interests, but we've also seen quiet coordination between the two countries despite the absence of a formal peace agreement or a security agreement, in which over the past few months we saw the Syrian authorities crack down on smuggling tunnels through from the Syrian territory to the Lebanese territory. And I suspect that Israeli intelligence has been critical and key to uncovering some of these plots and tunnels.
In your article, you say that the United States can play a key role in helping Israel and Syria bridge their differences and coordinate their efforts against Hezbollah. How so? What would that look like?
So the U.S. has been advocating for a security agreement between Syria and Israel over the past year. And in January 2026, they've reached an agreement to create an oversight mechanism to avoid misunderstandings between these two countries. What is necessary is to expand that agreement to include intelligence sharing or a more formalized mechanism to confront shared threats, namely Hezbollah.
Does Syria's new government and President Ahmad Sharawi, do they run the risk of alienating other Middle East neighbors by cooperating with Israel?
Well, I mean, of course, it's a very complicated issue, and I think in almost all Arab capitals, open cooperation with Israel is usually seen as a risky move or a controversial move, especially because of the populace and how they view Israel. But I think in the Syrian case, we're looking at a country, again, that has a deep historical enmity towards Hezbollah. again, because of how Hezbollah intervened during the civil war, because of the massacres it committed against the Syrian people, I think it wouldn't be a hard sell for the Syrians themselves that Syria is working against this organization, mainly because of that history. Now, for other Arab countries and alienating, it becomes more complicated, especially towards the countries that are seeking to or do not see Israel in positive light and maintain a good relationship with Syria. But at the end of the day, this is a matter of national security interest to the Syrians. They do not want a group to use their territory for their own benefit. They don't want a group to use their territory as a launch pad for terrorism outside of their borders. And I think it wouldn't be a hard sell for Shara to play that card. But we've already seen, again, as I said, quiet cooperation on that front. And we haven't seen any alienation from any of the Arab capitals towards Damascus.
Ahmad, it's good to get your insights on this. A fascinating discussion, too, about what many people would say are two very unlikely allies in the Middle East. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.